Welcome to the Warren Cycling Podcast. My name is Dean Warren. I'm in Porto, Portugal today.
And I'm Randy Warren. I'm in Asheville, North Carolina.
Yeah, and you'll still be coming over this way, coming up to Europe, less than a week now, right? Coming up on Sunday, you're going to fly first to the UK and then eventually get to France in time for the end of the tour.
Yeah, see the last couple of days in Nice. We'll be pretty excited about that, and then let the riders rest for a bit, and then see them a week later in Paris for the Olympics.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we just watched the finish of stage 10. Today is the 9th of July, stage 10. So after next week's rest day, they'll be on the same day and the same stage. It'll be easier to keep track. So they just finished up right now another sprint stage, and spoiler alert, if you don't want to find out who won and you're watching this podcast or listening right away, yeah, or just watch it later.
Yeah.
So it is
Yes,
episode 360 though, 360 of the Warren Cycling Podcast. Oh, you guys say who won? So
yeah, you said plug yours though, or I said plug yours.
Okay, well, we gave enough time. Oh, look at that. Ackerman was third. This is the best finish, right? Pascal Ackerman for Israel Premier Tech. But what's been missing so far, I think, in the tour up till now with Jasper Philipsen, the fastest guy on paper is him not winning, but also Matteo van der Poel, who last year just was so dominant in the leadouts to bring Jasper, right in great position. I don't know if this just the way the turns were and the positioning, and it just wasn't happening till now. Even van der Poel looked like he dropped off too early on one of the sprint stages. And Philipsen didn't get that red carpet ride to the front and get delivered like he did today.
Yeah, today looked like the sprints from last year where Van der Poel took over. So it was a little weird. They had an Alpecin person and then Laporte, who maybe must have been up front for Wout, but Wout was back a little ways. Wout finished fourth today. But and then it was Matthew van der Poel, and then it was Philipsen after that. So it was a really good organized lead out team. And it was much more single file too.
Yeah.
Where most of the sprints
looked like Van Aert's right behind.
He was fourth.
Yeah, he's right behind Germain, but
Ackerman was
finished
third.
after Ackerman. Yeah. I mean, in the position of the. So beating
Germain, Bennett, Deckenkolb, Bauhaus, Groenewegen, Axel Zingli, who did the great bunny hop over Mads Pedersen. Yeah.
I looked like Ackerman was not only half a wheel length in front of Wout van Aert.
So. It's interesting because Zingli was 10th and Brian Cocard was 13th. So they have two sprinters that are sprinting independently, it looks like. And so although Zingli, when he jumped over Mads Pedersen, it finished his lead out for.
Right, he was dropping back. Yeah.
So it wasn't.
That was a scary moment. That was a scary moment. The scary moment too was when Tadej Pogačar almost ran into that island.
Oh Lord, yeah, it was unbelievable. Yeah, his wheel was sideways, heading right for the barrier, and then he pulled it.
Oh, it's just barely saved. It was amazing, really. Yesterday, Vlasov though wasn't able to save him going into the ditch, and man, he's out now.
He broke his ankle, and he finished the stage too with a broken ankle, apparently. So,
ouch.
Yeah, I was watching it on my phone during that part, so it was kind of hard to see it very clearly. But yeah, he went into the ditch, and then there was questions about concussion protocol because people said they seemed a little unstable. And then I just read a headline this morning. I've been running around and you can see much of what's happened today, but a headline this morning that said that he did get a concussion protocol immediately after the fall. So it wasn't a case of him getting back on the bike and not being able to be evaluated by the doctors. So,
but ankle, wow. Do you think because his foot was caught in his pedal more than it been released or something? Or
yeah, Nico Roche was saying this morning. I did hear a little bit of that this morning earlier that he was having a hard time fathoming how he broke his ankle.
Broken ankle, yeah.
My guess maybe is
I sprained my ankle, I think, yesterday or running, and I didn't notice. But I think it was because I had to run up there's a super steep climb that goes from the river, the Douro River here, up to, I mean, most of Porto's up fairly high. And I saw it, I went down, I ran down it the other day. I thought, I wonder if I could ride up it. But I don't know, Strava, when you do the slider or the different degrees of percentage of the climb, It's not consistent with that a couple, but the one had it topping out around 34%.
Wow.
But one had it like a 40%. Like, it can't be 40%.
40% is the wall. Yeah, you'd have to climb hands
but
and
even
knees.
34 is like, whew. So
Yeah.
I chickened out the one time I was riding Isabella's bike to try to go up it. I don't know how many gears she has, but like, man, I don't know if I can get up because it's real like rough and cobbly. And so I ran up it yesterday,
And that's
but
to get to your house, like your apartment where you're staying?
well, to get to the area, to come back because I ran along the river because it's nice along the river where you don't have to worry about crossing lots of roads and you can run along there both directions. So, but I was running to come back up and I was, seeing how fast I could go up, but I was already pretty tired and then I started going. I thought I could go a little faster and maybe I just pushed myself a little bit. And with that steepness, my ankle was just kind of sore. And then I saw later it was swollen and yeah, it's pretty sore today. So
Not from the run, but from the run.
yeah, from the
Riding your
run,
bike.
but
Oh,
maybe
okay.
running up that steep hill perhaps. So
Maybe. I think
it's
Lasseter
bad.
might
It's
have
bad to get.
twisted it because it was a ditch. So if he unclipped
Yeah.
and put his foot down, which is I'm guessing, and then it was uneven. It was a steep embankment into the ditch. And so if he took his foot out, put it down on the ground, and it landed at a really steep angle. So not like yours going up the hill, but like if you were going sideways on that hill and put your foot down hard, that's a lot of stress on your ankle.
Yeah.
And that probably is why it broke, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I was that the image I saw when he was going to try to swing his leg over the bike and he lost his balance a little. And
Oh, I don't
then
know.
it was because he didn't have his foot like on this edge of the road very in a stable position, but they were doing the protocol. So anyway, we could talk a lot about little minor details of the racing, but I mean, wow, what a Tour de France so far. It started off with a huge surprised to have breakaways in the first couple of stages. And a lot of small teams now have won stages. Binion Gourmet, historic win. Mark Cavendish, historic win. Three Frenchmen winning. I mean,
Yeah, which is
and then a tight GC battle that maybe we didn't think it would be as close if UAE would have shown their dominance. But it was kind of a strange when they climbed up the Galibier because Yates fell off pretty early. Wouldn't have expected that. And then Ayuso was further back, and Almeida had to like gesticulate, and they had to get Ayuso up there. And then they were riding fine, but then I was kept waiting. Okay, is he going to attack? And then I thought, well, this is so close to the top. How much is he going to gain? Teddy Pogacar when he did finally go. And I mean, he did gain more on the downhill, but Jonas was up there strong. So
I guess my understanding was it was a big headwind. So and they set the Strava segment by over 35 seconds. So it was even with the headwind, they went amazingly fast up the climb. But that also discouraged attacks too. And that's one reason why they said Almeida was saying Ayuso had to get up there is because Almeida was in the wind the whole time too. It wasn't just like he was pulling steady state up the hill. He was fighting the wind too. And so he's like, you're not gonna just sit in the back and get a free ride to the front here. So you need to do some work. So that discouraged because frequently when you have headwind on a climb, I remember back in the day, I used to like it when it was a headwind because I could sit in it.
Better.
Yeah, all the climbers, the light little guys wouldn't have the advantage of being able to jump away on their own. They'd have to fight the wind, and it was then easier to sit on their wheels. So I think it was probably somewhat similar, even though this climb is hugely long.
And but it must be more in the same direction because some of the climbs that have a lot of switchbacks, you're going to be going headwind, tailwind, headwind, depending which way the wind's coming.
Yeah.
Or it's crosshead or whatever. You are not going to have the same wind as you're zigzagging your way up the mountain.
Some of Galibier, so I don't know see if I climbed that one or not, but I think it was more weaving back and forth up the climb, was switchbacking. Yeah. So
it's not. I mean, it was a super long climb, but it wasn't like one of those real steep. A lot of altitude gain in a short amount of kilometers.
Yeah, exactly right. It's just long. What makes it so hard is it does go up fairly high. It's the second highest point I think in the tour, but it was just such a long climb too. And the highest point of the tour is before they go to Nice, when they go over the road we went. But I rode when I was doing the Haute Route Alps because it was this stage that went into Nice, I think. But the highest paved road. So they're in that same. It's interesting. It's almost the same kind of area that has the two highest peaks they're on.
Sure.
But it was a little different too because I mean at that point when Tadej he crested the climb 50 meters maybe ahead of Vingegaard
wasn't that far behind, yeah.
No, and then he held it for quite a while, and then
It's like 7-8 seconds, I think, was
yeah.
showing on
But
the
then once
screen.
Vingegaard got caught, then the lead ballooned
It
to
was
30.
going up a little bit more before Vingegaard
Yeah.
got caught, but yeah.
People were wondering if he'd be nervous because of his crash or why maybe
So far he's been very impressive, riding really well, and if he's going to continue to get strong, if it's this close, you get to the final time trial. But I think we're going to know a lot more after this Saturday, Sunday, the big climbing days. I think there's going to be probably more separation, but yeah, no, it's been exciting, and I don't know if Roglic's going to get better. Evenepoel's going well, but we'll have to see. Is Taddy going to get tired or not? Is he? There's still so many questions. We don't know that, which is great for the entertainment. I guess the days have been very stressful though, because there haven't been those breaks getting off and a little bit relaxed before the sprinter teams take over. There's GC teams seem to be pushing to the front to keep their guys safe till I guess 5 kilometers now this year, right?
But it's variable. It's depending upon the stage. So yeah, it could be 3. It's like 3 to 5K. So yeah, they move around.
So I guess you better know that ahead of time each day, right?
They do, yeah. Yeah, no, it's different. If it's more dangerous, but also too, there's another rule which I haven't heard him talk about the last couple of days. But if you do get caught behind a crash, you need to put your hand up and indicate that you were held up, and then they need to recognize that you were held up. So if you're on the ground, obviously you're held up and you don't need to say anything. But if you're just behind a crash and you're actually not affected by it, they're like, you should have jumped around them and just kept going, and you might not get the same time as the lead group. Really? So I'm not sure how they're going to enforce that, because that seems to be craziness.
Yeah, and I didn't know there was a rule that you can't stop and kiss your wife during a time trial.
Right. Well, you can. Actually, Brent Buchholzer posted a picture of him kissing Jamie at a race one time. It made the tour, probably the tour. But anyway, they said it was dangerous riding, or it was not a specific rule about kissing his wife. And they said it's because it was time trial, and it was a narrow road on the climb, and he might have held up the rider behind him. But he went.
Who started like 6 minutes behind him, right? Is that what I read?
They weren't 6-minute gaps at that point. But
I don't know why. I mean, maybe at that time he'd already been passed, and there was only the rider.
He actually went. Bernard actually went extra hard in the beginning to create more of a gap, so that he would have the time to stop and kiss his wife and his child. So he actually planned it out fairly carefully, and he had enough of a gap there and he didn't barely stopped. If you look at the video, it's just for a moment. So it wasn't like he stopped for a long time. And he ended up like 30th place in the time trial. He ended up actually having a decent time. So at first, though, he said he went just all out, way faster than he probably had to, because he knew he wanted to do that. And he also said the fine was well worth it. He didn't care. It was like 200 Swiss francs, though, so not like 10 or 15. It was a bit. But yeah, he's like, that was one of the best moments of my career. So I don't.
It got a lot more attention too.
Yes, and the UCI got heavily criticized, which is, they're used to it, so they get heavily criticized about all sorts of things. So I don't think that they were. I don't think the UCI cares. I think that Bernard didn't care. And that's So it's a family. Jean Francois Bernard was his son. So he was one of the great riders on.
I guess any event like that brings some attention, maybe outside of the cycling circles too, that could catch and make maybe people get more interested to watch. But so far, I unfortunately wasn't able to watch live probably the most entertaining stage, Sunday's gravel day, which does it belong in the tour is a big question mark. I mean, come on,
I guess it depends on what your goals are for the tour.
Yeah, entertainment value, sure. To lose a guy that's trained all winter, all spring, and gets a bad flat at the wrong time, or and you're going to be pretty upset to have that kind of a sector. But those things can happen, I guess, anytime. But it's just more difficult to get wheels. I mean, look what happened. I mean, Visma, Liesebach, wow, they just managed everything so well on that stage to have Tratnik, whose saddle, I guess, is 3 millimeters different than Vindigo is to be able to switch bikes with him and keep him in contention, which he rode really well. And then, of course, the big debate too was about him not wanting to ride with Evenepoel and Taddy when they had a gap and Roglic was behind. But if you watch Chris Horner's videos, that he says no, he was super smart, because the number one rule, he has a number one rule on the butterfly effect in one of his video series, is not to leave your teammates. Always have a teammate to help you in case something happens, like an untimely flat or so.
That was very planned out too.
Unnecessarily.
He was riding purposely 5 to 7 riders behind him the whole stage, so to be ready for that. They'd planned that out carefully. And apparently in a training camp earlier, he had rode his bike for like 50K or something like that, just to see how it felt like if he had to switch bikes too. So they were very well prepared for the scenario that happened.
Right. And I guess if we talk about anything, every time we mention the U.S. based cyclists, the American cyclists racing in only 3 in the Tour de France, and they've been somewhat visible, because Sean Quinn, as the Stars and Stripes, is the national road champion of the United States, and he was right towards the very front for EF Education at today's stage even. So
he's been a front for sure.
Wilson Powless was out a little bit in the break, and like you said, I think he was trying to set up Ben Healy another time. So I haven't seen as much of him like last year. Last year he was wearing polka dot jersey for quite a while. Yeah. But he's also and I had the same build-up this year. And then, of course, Matteo Jorgensen, who now is supposed to be, I guess, one of the last best climbers to help Vingegaard, and he did. I think he's done a very good job so far of what his abilities are on that first climb to be up as far as he can be. But
although he was disappointed, and he said that he felt the effects of his crash that day. Like his crash on day one, he thought was it day one? He said he didn't feel like it affected him all right away. But then on the Galibier, he said that it really affected him a lot, and he was way below what he thought he should have done that day. He said he dropped off much earlier than he expected, and he chalked it up to the crash. So, but I think though he's truly, and I think it's different too.
He's always hard on himself.
Yeah, but everybody's been saying like UAE's team is the dominant team, and they're riding so well, and they did on the climbing stage. But on the flatter stages, they've been nowhere to be seen. So I think that Visma at least the bike has been much stronger on, for example, on the gravel stage. When Tadej attacked and Vingegaard was put in jeopardy. And then, Matteo stayed with him. Jorgensen stayed with Tadej. And then Laporte dropped back, because he also was there with him too, for Vingegaard. And then brought him halfway up. Then Jorgensen dropped back the rest of the way, picked him up, and then dragged him forward to Tadej. So I think that, the teamwork, obviously, in those situations was so much better than what UAE's was at all anyways. And then UAE didn't have anybody else even to support Pogačar. So I think that, UAE's got the strongest climbing team for sure.
Yeah, which we'll find out this weekend, right?
Yeah, they were riding, so far, they've proven to be the best climbing team. But I think Visma, and you think that Wout would have been the person that was doing most of the work on the gravel stage, but it seemed like he was, a contributor, but not as strong as Jorgensen or.
He's not, like he said coming in, he's not nearly as good a shape he's been in before,
because of his own crash too.
Yeah, that was a pretty honest assessment, I guess, too. I mean, today he said flashes are looking better, but nowhere like the dominant rider who was, especially a couple of years ago, when almost he could bend the will of the whole peloton.
Yep. I just want real quick to correct something too. I said that Julian Bernard was 30th. He was 30th when he crossed the line in the time trial, but he ended up 61st.
So at that time he was 30th.
Yeah. And then Jean-Francois Bernard, of course, is his dad. So, he's 61st. Yeah. So
that's still not bad for stopping, but. Yes. Did you read much about Evenepoel? Thought he might have had a flat towards the end, and so
I saw. Yeah. So I was watching it live, and he said he heard something that sounded just like a flat. He thought someone dropped something in the crowd or something like that. And then he also said he thought he lost like 25 seconds because of that. But if you look at the video, it looks like he lost 3 seconds or something. I mean, but he did back off a little bit, and he races out right arm immediately, looked down on his wheel, bounced it a little bit, realized it wasn't flat, then got on the gas again. But it wasn't like he was stopped during a time. He was still rolling along, slightly slower.
I think he was a little more cautious, maybe. I mean, were there a lot of turns left?
it was a long ways to go yet in the race, but no, but I think he realized it was fine. It wasn't a problem.
Okay.
So he wasn't. It wasn't like he thought it might be going flat slowly. So he thought he heard it was a sudden flat, and then when he realized it wasn't, then he went back to normal. So, yeah, but he definitely thought it was flat. I mean, it's very clear. And the announcers are like, "Oh, something's wrong. Is it mechanical? Because he doesn't have a flat." So, but he said it was. Yeah, he thought for sure a flat. Yeah, and it's interesting too because Evenepoel, when he was complaining, I almost said whining, but he was complaining about that Vingegaard wasn't working with him when they had a chance to do something in the gravel stage up too. Right. And then he's like, oh, he doesn't have the balls, he said, or something like that too. And it's like, and Vingegaard's like, hey buddy, I've won 2 of these things. This is your first experience in this. I don't see you winning. I think you need to check yourself a little bit. But it was interesting because Evenepoel, it was pretty, I mean, he obviously is a very competent individual and he's shown that many times, but it seems like there's not the same level of respect or hierarchy. Like he has won a stage now, but he has never. This is his first Tour de France, and calling people out like that, it's gamesmanship and showmanship, but still.
Yeah. Well, it's good entertainment too. Gives us something to talk about. Yeah. So that's, I guess, Evenepoel, because his first the first Tour de France, and he's got a stage win already, so he's pretty happy. He's sitting pretty good right now. We'll find out. His team doesn't
seem to be too. If he puts
his team doesn't seem so strong either to help him in the mountains. Didn't they lost a guy. They lost the other Pedersen, Casper Pedersen.
First day they lost.
Yeah, I mean, there's only been what?
Oh no, it was Son lost somebody the first day.
The 2 Pedersens, Casper and Mads, and then Vasov now, and it seems like only one other rider has not been able to continue. So it seems like so far for 9 stages, it's been pretty good as far as not losing too many riders, whereas sometimes there's been worse crashes, and there's been crashes, but nothing maybe as bad as other tours. Do you think that's true?
Yeah. Yeah, and they say a lot of that is because of the way the stages was done the first day too. So it breaks it up right away. There's more crashes when there's more people having a chance for the yellow jersey. So when you separate people out right away and don't have the whole field within seconds of the yellow jersey, then it tends to make more likely
less fights for
less fights for the last little bit, but also too then people can go in breakaways and there's more because before, if everybody has a chance for the yellow jersey and the break goes up, that means that the break all has a chance for the yellow jersey. And so that makes people more nervous about it too. But now the break's going up the road and it's already, none of those guys are gonna have a chance to the jersey because they're so far back, So it makes it safer for sure. But you never know. I mean,
it's been still very stressful. Yes. To the riders, yeah. Well, 3 Frenchmen winning, Bardet getting a yellow jersey, that's really big, but I don't know. I guess Mark Cavendish has to be. I mean, I don't know what's bigger, Mark Cavendish breaking the record, which doesn't get much bigger than that, because especially he's been written off a lot. I mean, it's just encouraged to come back by Vinokurov. So come back and do another year. His family supported him, and they really planned and built all around, and they executed it. I mean, today we're watching the lead out. They had 2 guys up there, but they looked around, they couldn't find Cass, so they just pulled off. So he got a little bit lost, but he's so good at surfing wheels. But they're up there.
Yeah, he finished like 18th something today. So really, then, and he says Vinokurov is the best team director he's ever had too. So, I mean, take that with a grain of salt, obviously, but it's still at the same time is that they have a good program, and now they have a new Chinese company that's going to be the title sponsor starting next year, and they're making it into a super team. Did you see that?
I did not see that.
Yeah, so now they're looking to hire somebody to be the next, because they were saying who's available, who can they hire that's available to be like a Grand Tour contender, but it sounds like a long-term investment from this Chinese company, and so they are already right now looking to see who they can sign for next year and who they can sign for the future too. So
interesting. Yeah, but Biniam Girmay's 2 wins about very high up there too, historic wins. First black African to win stages at the Tour de France. He's won 2, and
it's firmly placed in the green jersey too.
Yeah, he's wearing and he can get over the mountains, I think, pretty well. So
Yeah, he's actually, it's funny because they were saying he's much more a climber's build than the average sprinter, and most of the people from that part of Africa too are more endurance type of athletes, runners and things like that too. So of course in cycling you have to be an endurance rider even if you're not a climber. So but yeah, he's certainly very well positioned to hold that jersey all the way through, especially when Philipson got regulated to 172nd or something like that.
Can you imagine if they had regulated?
Yeah, relegated. Yeah.
Relegated Cavendish for cutting over so far, because Philipson looked, and when you're watching it, Philipson really looks like he's zigzagging across, but Cavendish was moving that way too. So
yeah, and they got warned and fined.
He got a slap on the wrist, I saw. Yeah,
he got fined for that. Yeah, yeah. I think the difference was they didn't actually affect anybody else. They didn't cut anybody off when they did the sprint. So it was. I mean, Cav's win was clear and decisive, and really, so when he went, he looked too. Actually, if you look you look and see, he looked to his left first, and it was clear, and then he did dive hard, but like they actually, Anthony McCrossan asked Nico Roach about that during the broadcast, the broadcasters I'm listening to him, and Nico said, "Well, I'm not judge or jury. I'm not gonna say anything, but you did break the rule." So I mean, it's clear. You're
done a lot. Yeah,
you're not supposed to deviate from your sprint, and he did. So, but he said that, and I think that the difference is, so he did get fined and docked some green jersey points, but I think the difference is that it wasn't a dangerous move. It didn't affect anybody else necessarily when he went over.
Except for Pedersen, eventually.
Well, but he didn't cut anybody. He didn't cut him off or anything.
No, so, but the rest of the train moving over to follow did.
Yeah. I think it was relatively safe, so it wasn't too bad. Yeah. So I mean, and that win was so decisive too. It makes you wonder a little bit, why hasn't Cav been in any other sprint? Maybe because he is super motivated, obviously, and so.
Sure. But I mean, up till now, Philipson wasn't. I mean, the positioning seems to have been more important than the finishing speed this year, because you have to be right in the right spot. All these guys are really fast, but Philipson seems to be the fastest. He just hasn't been in a good position until today. He was in great position, and then he won handily.
Yeah, although he won sprint when Gourmet won, that he was second.
Yeah, he was pretty good in that. It was uphill though, so he.
Yeah, but he wasn't fastest, I don't think, though, in that sprint. Like, he had if he was fastest, he would have passed him one. Right, it was more uphill, so yeah.
Because it was uphill, yeah.
He had a clear shot that one, and just couldn't do it.
Yeah, it was a long up. I mean, it was a stair step uphill too from the last K, I believe. So.
Yeah, it was not an easy finish at all. Yeah, and Gourmet, that's again because he's a little lighter.
He's lighter. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit easier for him to do that. Yeah, and his positioning, and a lot of people, I mean, so he crashed. He was in the Giro, and he crashed.
Yeah.
Crashed out of
it. Twice.
So, yeah, right. First time was early, like second or third day, right? And then 3 days later, he crashed again or something. So.
Yeah, and then he was like, forget it. I'm not racing anymore.
Because he wasn't supposed to even be here at the Tour. So it was not slated. If he would have finished the Giro, he would not have come to the Tour. And so this was, great for his team, obviously, and for him.
Yeah. And I mean, look at all the small teams that have had success, where a lot of times that doesn't happen at all. These small teams, their success is how many breakaways maybe they got in, but not winning stages like they've done this year.
Yeah. Total Energies hadn't won a stage since 19 or 17, a long time. So,
yeah.
When the last time
FDJ Suez, now they haven't won since Thibaut Pinot won in 2019, so now they've got the longest French losing streak. So
non-winning streak.
Yeah, not winning. Okay, at the Tour without going. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the French have to be pretty happy already because of the 3-stage wins in that. So
there's been years where it's going like halfway through the Tour and they haven't got a win yet. So, or 3/4 of the way through. So, Have they ever not got a win at all? Maybe once. I don't know.
Yeah. So the question is, like Ineos Grenadiers, where are they going to find success? A big team like that. Trek seems like they've got a pretty great team, but without Pedersen, man, they're going to find it tough going to get.
But they almost had out of it on the gravel stage. That was
Jasper Stuyven that made a great effort. Yeah.
Yeah, and it looked like his legs just gave out because he made such a strong move, and even though they're chasing him, held the gap. and then all of a sudden they close it real fast, and I'm like, he must have just been tapped out. He went 11K to go, so that's a long ways to go. So I think he had 10K in him, and then the last K was just, oh yeah. And then people are actually surprised that they didn't, the gap, the rubber band didn't break at that point too, because everybody was so tired. And I remember Max talking about that too. Max Lelly, our friend, who finished third, I think is his best finish in a stage of the tour, and he was in a break for that one, and then he was another top 5. And he said both times, he goes, he had nothing left at the end. He was, he's a decent sprinter. I mean, you'd think that he would be one of the favorites for those breaks to win. And he said, at the end, he was just so tapped out. He just had nothing left to give to be able to sprint like he could. So these guys.
It's like the 2019 Worlds in Yorkshire when Matteo van der Poel, he thought, wow, he's going to win this, and then he just.
Trenton too was the.
Yeah, Matteo Trenton. They thought, okay, he's going to be the favorite in the sprint. He's the fastest guy here, and then Pedersen won. But it can happen. Yeah, ran out of gas. Like I ran out on that hill when I think I sprained my ankle. I thought I could speed up a little bit to maybe get a better time, and then I was done. I stopped. I was like, I can't go anymore. So.
I've had one running up hills where I almost stopped. Like my legs are still moving, but I'm not moving forward very fast. So
I kept walking, but I stopped running. It's hard to run anyway at that 37%. You're barely running. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes I run my feet up and down, and I'm not really moving much. It's like I'll move feet faster. Well, they are moving faster, but you're not really gaining any more ground. So yeah.
All right. Well, I'm excited for the rest of the. I mean, tomorrow's got what 4,000 feet of climbing. A lot of climbs tomorrow.
In the middle, it still looks like it could be. Well, I guess it could be a break, or I think it's still come together.
Stage 11 could be pretty interesting. The 12, maybe another sprint. 13. I don't remember 13. It's 14 and 15 though. They're gonna be the big ones, right?
I think Sunday, what they were saying is the first
over
day.
5,000 meters of climbing, I think.
Yeah, that's the day that's really going to be. What stage is that? Is that stage 14?
15, I think.
Stage 15?
On the 14th. It's on Bastille Day.
So, that day starts off with a Category 1 climb.
Yeah, there's 3 Category 1s and above Category climb?
Yep, and finishing the category. It's four Category 1s. So the sprint point is the first. You have a Category 1 climb to start off, and then you go through a valley, and then it has a sprint point, and then 2 Category 1s, and then a valley, Category 1, and then the finish. So, Peta de Bay, is it B-E-I-L-E?
De Bay, yeah.
Anyway.
I guess Pavel Sivakov is very familiar with the climb. Heard Teddy in his interview saying that he knew that one really well.
It's 15.7K at 7.8%. So it brings me so tired there. But then again, too, I mean, so that's the first hardest stage. If this was a week later, you almost might say a break would put down. But this one here, it's going to stamp, whoever's going to stamp the authority in this stage here is going to be in control of the tour.
The day before, they don't, they're gradually climbing their first 70K, and then it's above Category 2 and then above Category to finish. So
yeah, you're right.
They have the Tourmalet, so yeah.
You're right. It could be. I think the Sunday might depend a lot on how it happens on Saturday.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they might be thinking about Sunday when they're racing up Saturday.
Yeah. And then the good thing about so many people being close in the GC right now is that there's people that could take risks. So, there's moves that can happen, right? I mean
but I don't see Vingegaard won't be one to take a risk. Maybe
no,
he doesn't have much support. What do you mean risk from none of the top 4 GC guys? You mean
exactly. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
because they have nothing to lose because there's not expected. I mean, they got the top 10 to lose, I guess. If that's their goal.
Yeah, I mean, but if you're sitting, 11th, 12th, and then you have a chance to, you're not. So
you're sitting there probably for a reason, And
yeah, so Jorgensen is 10th, Yates is 11th, Bernal is 12th. Ciccone, though, 13th.
Yeah.
Now he could go, right, all in, take risks, and those kind of things too. He has nothing to lose because, like you said, Little Trek has nothing, right?
Right. That's. I thought maybe he could be a possibility to go for polka dot points. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, but 13th he certainly isn't anything. Bilbao, at 15th.
Yeah, Bahrain Victorious doesn't have much going on this tour yet.
And Vitrago is 14th. Those guys, I think maybe
one of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
right.
and then Derek G, who's 9th, but he's 4 minutes back. So maybe I say anybody past that. So Landa's 8th, but he's going to be working for Evanpool, so he's out. So anybody ahead of that.
And Jorgensen's going to be staying with Vingegaard, so he won't. Yeah.
Jorgensen's not going to have the freedom to go and move. No. Well, the only way he'd have freedom to go and move is to wait, to get up there and then be there for Vingegaard if he needs him.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's the only way there too. And then Yates and Bernal's going to be working for Rodriguez, and
right.
So yeah, I think Cicconi's the first one. Ciccone, then Bertago. Yeah, Bill Felix Gall, 16th.
Yeah, right? Because they haven't gotten much going on after such a great first part of the year for Decathlon the Mondial, and so yeah.
Enric Mas,
something
18th.
to go. Yeah, he hasn't going so well.
Yeah, I think those guys there for sure. Yeah, so that's and then you never know too. Geraint Thomas, he's sitting back there in 24th, and he just came off of a Giro, which he raced really well, so he might be able to tuck something up because he's going to get some more freedom, I think.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't really helped Rodriguez that much so far, so. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, right? This next weekend will be, and actually I'll be busy all next weekend too. I have a race on Sunday and have a expo on Saturday, so I'm only gonna get to see the stuff very well.
Right.
I'll be there in the airport looking at the replays and stuff.
All right. Well, we'll do birthdays.
But two big things. So one thing is the Giro d'Italia is going on for the women, but
right. Well, I was going to tie that into the birthday one.
Okay. But two other pieces of news we have to mention. Kristen Faulkner is replacing a triathlete Nib in the women's road race.
Oh, I didn't see that.
I just saw that. So
I'm overseas, so I don't get all the U.S. information.
So that's what we thought was going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
And we were very surprised that a person who has no pack racing experience, no high level pack racing experience, no international pack racing experience. She's probably done some local crits or something, but would be thrown into the Olympics in the road race. We thought that was very unusual, and so this is what we expected. So I'm interested to read that article. And then such unfortunate news, but I think we need to say, Andre Drag passed away, 25 years old. He was on a Danish team, the Coop team. He was assigned though already for another team, I think, for next year. But in the Tour of Austria, I haven't seen the crash. It was on a descent, and I haven't really heard it described very much too to know what happened. Just that it was on a descent and he crashed. Neutralized the Tour of Austria. Then and Magnus Sheffield finished third overall. He moved from second to third on that stage that De Grey had passed away, but he had finished third. But yeah, it's so sad that anytime it always gives us our sense of mortality too. That when we go on these rides too, I mean, so he was just on a descent. We go down, descends all the time, and don't think we're taking unnecessary risks. I'm sure he didn't think he was taking an unnecessary risk, and yet somehow he passed away. But
yeah, like Gino Mater last year. So it's
yeah,
it's not.
So anyway,
nice to have that repeat. So
it is sad, but it's important to note, I think, anyway. So
all right, well. How do you segue into the birthdays? Because her birthday is kind of a happy kind of thing. Celebrating birthdays.
Yeah. It's like birth and death. So.
How about top riders on the birthday list, July 9th? They're both active riders. They're both just hitting 30 and 31.
Yeah.
Hugh Carthy has the most points here, number 1, 30, and he's had a pretty good career. I mean, he was on the podium at Vuelta. I mean, maybe could have achieved higher results, perhaps, with his climbing prowess. But I remember when he was racing in the USA Pro Challenge and the best young rider then. So
he's a quality climber for sure.
Yeah. He was one on the Englaroo, hasn't he? Did he win Englaroo stage? So, but number 2, which we can talk about because we mentioned her last week, Ruth Edwards. She's 31 today. She won the Touring race, but she's now at the Girodona. They just call it Giro d'Italia Women now, right? They don't call it the Girodona anymore. So Giro d'Italia Women, which is completed 3 stages, and she did a pretty good time trial, but she lost some time. Unfortunately, on her birthday today, she lost about 4 minutes 41 seconds. So she's dropped down. That's the climbing day.
And she was shooting for the GC, and they'd formed the team around her and hired a new rider. Yeah, and so I'm sure that was very disappointing. So now maybe she's stage hunting at this point. So, but but she just came out of retirement too, and has been racing really, really, really well.
Right. Well, Dale Stetton is 30 or 68. He's 9th on the list of PCS points. Dale Stetton.
It's Peter Stetton's dad.
Yeah, I was confused which is his uncle, which is his dad.
Wayne Stetton is his uncle.
Wayne Stetton is his uncle.
Because Wayne lives in Johnson City, so I see Wayne once in a while. And Wayne's still racing. I don't think Dale's still racing, but I race with Wayne once in a while. And he's a good guy. I like Wayne. He's a nice guy, and he talks about his dad. And I raced with Wayne and Peter in a Gran Fondo in San Luis Obispo one time, and it was fun to race with them. And Peter attacked at one point, and just I have actually a video of it on my YouTube channel. We were going hard, like 300 and some watts, up this climb. And then he just takes off. He just takes off. And everybody's like, what? I thought we were going hard.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But Dale and Peter, they were both, or Dale and Wayne, rather, they were brothers, raced at the highest levels of US cycling for many years. And were the face of, we raced internationally quite a bit too, but they were the face of US cycling for a while.
Yeah. All right. I've got Jonathan Erdely is 43. American celebrated his birthday. Garrett Roth, 28. Catherine Powers, 53.
Oh.
Rebecca Cook, Frank Overton, 53.
Yeah, I wished Frank a happy birthday today. One of my Facebook friends.
Yeah.
He was owner of Fast Cat Cycling, and he recently ran the Belgian Waffle Ride pre-ride that raised money for Asheville Youth Cycling, a program that I work with. And Frank was there, so I got to hang out with Frank just recently. He's a nice guy.
Nice. And I've got Patrick O'Donnell, 48. So it's a birthday. Let's celebrate birthday during the Tour de France. What a great day to have a birthday. We'll watch the tour and celebrate a birthday.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's wrap up. We're halfway through the tour pretty much, right? 10 stages. We got 11 more to go. And lots of action to come.
I said another race right now too. Adam Pinkston's birthday today too. Sorry, so he's a local legend in the Western North Carolina area. So
all right, happy birthday, Adam. All right, Randy.
Yeah, it's tough. Like today, I didn't feel bad missing most of the stage because I've had a busy day and I didn't get to see much because it was a sprint stage. But yeah, when you get to be like I said this weekend, you're missing some of those stages. It's much harder, isn't it? But luckily we have resources to do catch ups and stuff like that too. So.
I've got the Giro d'Italia women race going on Eurosport here. I get Eurosport in Portugal, so and watch the last 18K of that. It finished already, but I can see what happened.
You're right. To see what happened to Ruth. Come on.
Yeah.
It looked like it was a brutal stage. So.
Yeah. All right, Andy. Well, I hope your preparations go well for your trip, and I hope we get to meet up either in Nice or in Paris.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. All right. Bye now.
All right. Thanks, Steve.